2 more hits last night for JP. Hits the ball in the air to left center field pretty well. Adele back near the wall, and he will watch it go. Jeremy Pena, leadoff home run against his old teammate Yusei Kikuchi. And the Astros out in front early, 1-0.
The last couple of games, he's been much better. Did he get him?
Isaac Paredes trying to go back-to-back to start the game, and he does. Number 16 on the year for number 15. Pena, Paredes, back-to-back checks.
ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5. Welcome into the show. This is the Bullpen. Brian McDonald, Cam Smith, John Belmer here with you. And you can join us if you want to call in on the HRP text line. Our text is there as well. 713-780-3776. If you can hit us up on Twitter. I'm at SackByBmac. Sorry, on X. I sound old every time I say that. At SackByBmac, at Clutch City Cam, and at Third Coast Johnny. That, of course, coming in was the voice of Todd Callis on the Astros back-to-back jacks to open up the game. Eventual extra innings win for the Astros in Anaheim thanks to Space City Home Network. And Todd Callis, who you can hear with the Killer Bees every Friday at either 4 or 4:30. So, man, let's there's a lot to get into with Hunter Brown and some of the pitching there.
A little bit.
And we will get into what you think I'm talking about here in a minute. But let's start off with just what Hunter Brown did in the game because, I mean, the dude has been unreal now going back to May 5th of last season when he introduced the sinker into his repertoire. I mean, just a far cry from I don't know. Do you remember that Kansas City game early last year? We gave up like 11 runs in one inning. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing that the guy that I think he set a record for most hits allowed in an inning, and on top of that, he gave up 11 earned runs. It's amazing that guy can add one pitch, and he goes from 11 runs in an inning to the best pitcher in baseball.
To like 11 runs over his last like 7 games.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes I think when something becomes normal to us, and this is not just in sports, this is in any regular day life, but I think sometimes we just gloss over it. Like we forget to appreciate the greatness. But I just like to start off by just appreciating the greatness and the unbelievable comeback to a career that could have easily derailed to the point of not becoming Forrest Whitley, but he could have easily derailed to the point of, maybe he's fighting for the 4th spot in the rotation. Instead, he adds a pitch to his repertoire and becomes the best pitcher in the American League. Hunter Brown last night, 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 4 strikeouts. And, digging into the numbers, I think you said like 7 runs. I know you're pulling it out for the top of your head, just kind of a toss away, not an actual stat, but it's kind of close to that. Like when you look at what he's done, 15 starts this year, including last night, Cam, and he's allowed 2 runs or less in 13 of those 15 starts. Like it's unbelievable what he's done.
I mean, I guess there's a reason why people were comparing him to
Verlander.
To Verlander.
Baby
I guess
JV.
it's starting to show. But this is kind of the same thing that happened. And obviously Josh Hader didn't add a pitch, but this is kind of what happened to Hader last year, where the numbers
was high.
The numbers were a little skewed because he had that one game where he gave up like 5 runs, but then after that went on like a 20-game like scoreless
it was
streak.
Weird. It was weird with him because like depending on what stat you looked at, you could tell a completely different story with Josh Hader last night. Not to get too sidetracked, but like he was great. If you just looked at the saves, like blown saves, he was great. He rarely blew a save last year, maybe only a couple. But then you would look basically anytime he wasn't in a save situation, he became, kind of Rafael Montero at times. Like you knew he was going to give up a run if he did for some reason wasn't in the save situation. But getting back to Hunter Brown, I mentioned 15 starts this year. He's given up two runs or less in 13 of those. Going back to last year when he added that sinker on May 5th, 25 starts from last year, 15 starts this year, 40 total, 2 runs or less in 33 out of 40.
Well, just in his last,
it's unbelievable.
Just in his last 5 games, he's only given up 5 runs.
In how many games?
His last 5 games, he's only given up 5 runs.
I'm not great at math, but I think that means 1 run per start.
Yeah.
Okay.
And over 29 innings.
Do that math.
And over 29 innings.
I
And
think I can do that.
This isn't just going 5 innings of baseball. I mean, he's averaging about 6.5 innings per game his last 5 games. So just the last 5 games alone tells you how dominant that he's been.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into the other big note from Hunter Brown, and then we'll get into some of the pitching decisions made by Joe Espada in that game. But I think what everyone will be talking about coming out of this game, including on Monday when the Bees and John and Lance and Dell and Paul return, will be Hunter Brown hitting Neto. I believe it was, fifth inning? And Neto had a little bit of reaction. Let's hear the call from Space City Home Network.
First pitch and the 23 first pitch. That ball got in on Neto, and he stares out at Hunter Brown.
Yeah, he's got no business coming after Hunter.
And we're going to have a benches clearing situation here in the third inning between the Angels and the Astros. Zach Neto took offense to that pitch in.
Well, nobody's throwing at Zach Neto. Hunter Brown has a sinking fastball or a two-seam fastball that runs in on hitters. And you got a hitter that dives like Neto. Sometimes they're going to have this situation. Young hitter who got fired up against a veteran who's having a very good season. But I don't think Hunter Brown's going to back down from many people.
No, he was walking right towards him as Neto stared at him after being hit by a pitch.
And Hunter Brown's probably telling him, I'm not trying to hit you.
There is no history with these two teams. I can't imagine there's any history with Hunter Brown and Zach Neto.
Now, one note to that. Apparently, and I heard this when I heard I think it was the Angels broadcast, or maybe it was a national broadcast, but apparently Brown did hit Neto last year. Now, I don't think that means, oh my God, Hunter Brown's coming after Zach Neto, and Zach Neto's reaction was warranted. But just in that last line there from Todd, and I don't expect them to remember that. Who would? It's Zach Neto. It's not like he had a famous dust up with Barry Bonds or something. It's Zach Neto. Why would you remember that? But apparently Hunter Brown did hit Zach Neto.
Well, yeah, that's why Neto kind of did raise the. It's on.
Yeah,
no.
It
Sorry.
wasn't.
My bad.
Yeah.
That's why Neto raised the two fingers, because he was referring to being hit last year.
I don't know when he hit him last year, but
last year nothing came of it. So it's just like you're going to go a whole season, get hit on an inside pitch that's an off-speed pitch that wasn't meant to hit you, and this is your reaction?
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought it was a sinker that hit him, but regardless, like
it wasn't a fastball. We can all say
okay,
it wasn't.
not a four-seamer. Yeah, not a four-seamer, right. Like there's a couple ways I want to go with this. One, and Johnny, if you have that clip, let's hear a particular line from Jeff Blum again.
Well, nobody's throwing at Zach Neto.
Yeah, nobody's throwing at Zach Neto. Like,
bro.
I think the first thing Zach Neto's got to ask himself, like, if he is trying to come up with a flow chart in his head of, did Hunter Brown do that on purpose? The first thing is, do I matter to Hunter Brown?
You're not that guy, pal.
Trust me.
You're not that guy.
Yeah, you are not that guy.
This isn't the Dodgers and Padres where they'll just go after anybody because they have a hated rivalry. The Astros do not care about the Angels or Neto.
No. Like, I mean, Zach Neto, I think it was his rookie season was last year. He had a pretty good season. I think he went 20-20 or something close to that. Like he's a pretty decent player. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay his talent or his career, but he hasn't established himself as like an Astros killer or someone that's just, getting hits off of Hunter Brown every single game to the point where it would drive Hunter Brown to the point of hitting him.
Yeah,
right?
Like it's not like Neto hit a home run right before.
Right. It's exactly what happened with Altuve in the Sacramento A's series. Like he is a talented player. I'm again not trying to besmirch his career, but again,
nobody's throwing at Zach Neto.
You're Zach Neto. You haven't established yourself to the point of driving a team and a player to hit you. I just mentioned Jose Altuve. You're not Jose Altuve. Like Jose Altuve has, I mean, he shouldn't have been hit by the A's, but he's done stuff in his career to the point where teams might decide to hit him. Zach Neto, you ain't Jose Altuve.
No.
And the other part of this, like, let's just move beyond that. Like, think of the situation. Like, that's always the first place I go to when people go into he hit him on purpose, whether it be this situation with Hunter Brown and Neto or any other situation in baseball. The situation in that moment, it was third inning, not fifth. I got the inning wrong. But it was Astros were up 2-0. So it's not 10-0 where the base runner doesn't matter, right? Like he didn't have some crazy lead to where it didn't matter if Zach Neto
could afford just to put people on.
Right. It was 2-0. It was the third inning. There's a runner on second with one out. So there's already one out. You're trying to get out of the inning. Like it's one thing, it's the leadoff runner, you put him on, whatever, and you move on, you try to go after the rest of the inning. Like he's already gotten the first out. And there's a runner on second. Yeah, there's a base open, but it's 2-0. You hit Neto. Now the tying runs at first base.
Exactly.
You're putting the tying, like, it makes no sense if you think about it, for Hunter Brown in a 2-0 game to put Zach Neto on the tying run and bring the go-ahead run to the plate to get because of a vendetta against like a second-year player in the league. It makes no sense.
He's trying to create something out of nothing. My favorite part though is all this stuff going around about how people, even non-Astros people, were like, "Oh, Hunter Brown's from Detroit. He's not backing down." Like,
I mean, they do call him Diesel, right? I thought Neto was the at least initial aggressor in there. Like you said, he gave the two. He started walking towards Hunter, started yapping to Hunter, but you could tell like Hunter seems like likes the fight guy. Like Hunter probably wasn't going to go out and start the fight, but if you show any inkling of messing around, you will then find out with Hunter Brown.
Like, he did look like something turned on.
Oh yeah, exactly.
In that moment,
like he's fine. And the second you just give me a reason, mother bleeper, is what he's thinking in his head. It's like, just give me a reason. And then Neto gave him a reason, and Hunter Brown, I don't want to say he lost it, but he was highly agitated.
He was ready to stand on business.
Oh, he was definitely ready to stand on business. If there hadn't been, two teams in between them, I think Hunter Brown would have stood on business at that moment. But you know how baseball is; they never truly fight. They just kind of grab each other's shoulders and then dance around. That's basically all baseball fights are.
I mean, these fights are
fights in air.
They're entertaining, but they're also so at the same time also so cringe because it just like nothing hardly ever.
No, of course not.
It's just a bunch of guys yelling and semi-pushing each other. Like we don't see actual baseball fights like we did in like the 80s and like the 90s where people are actually throwing jabs.
Well, I think part of it is there's too much money, right?
Oh yeah.
I think you could say that. Now hockey's going to always stand on business. Those guys don't care about what.
But that is part of hockey.
That's part of the culture, right? That's part of the culture. But I think a part of it is like I remember at one point in the 80s, Nolan Ryan became the highest player in baseball at $1 million a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which obviously is still life-changing money, especially like in the 80s, $1 million was 5 times what it is worth now with inflation or whatever. But I think as the money goes up and up and up and up, like if you're Juan Soto making $700 million, why are you going to fight some dude? Like, what do you care?
If you're smart, you're not.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you give up a chunk of that? Like, because the fine's coming.
Oh yeah.
Like I think as the money goes up and up and up, people are just less motivated to actually stand on business.
I'm on the other side of that.
Okay.
If I have so much money, I can pay the damn fine. I'm going to punch you in the face.
Yeah, but you're risking more money.
I think it's not just the money. I mean,
isn't it fully guaranteed?
Yeah, but that chunk you lose, the chunk you get fined, you lose.
Yeah, but it's chump change compared to the contract.
I don't know.
I'm willing to sacrifice it.
But it could be more like bodily harm. Like, yeah, you have enough money to where the fine is like chump change. You're not even going to remember like losing it. But there is like the possibility that if it does turn into an actual fight, some part of your body could get hurt.
Yeah, I think it's maybe I made too much emphasis just on the amount, because you're right, Johnny. Maybe like if you got FU money, you could afford to say FU to quote the line from Billions. But I think it's more just like, man, you make $700 million, you're naturally going to be a little bit softer than you were before you made $700 million, right?
Yeah,
like
you made it already.
You're going to have like when you get money, the things you used to do for yourself, you're probably going to pay someone else to do for yourself, and you're probably just a little less motivated to scrap and claw and fight than you were before you had the $700 million.
Yeah, it's like what Dion said years ago. Got to get a fall guy.
Yeah. Was that Dion? I thought that was Chris Carter.
Was it Chris Carter?
Yeah, it was Chris Carter.
Okay, my bad. My apologies. Yeah. Chris Carter.
Someone else from the 90s. But
either way, yeah, you got so much money. Just get yourself a fall guy.
Yeah, exactly. All right, other side of the break, we'll keep going with the Astros for a little bit. Talk about some of the decisions made by Joe Espada and some of the other performances on the offensive side from the Astros. And then we'll get into the Rockets and Kevin Durant after that. And, of course, Mount Rushmore coming up at 1:30. Don't go anywhere. Bullpen will be right back on ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5. Welcome back into the Bullpen. Brian McDonald, Cam Smith, John Belmer here with you. And if you want to join in the conversation about the Astros, you got any thoughts on what happened with Hunter Brown and Zach Neto, or you want to weigh in on Kevin Durant later, anything else we got going on the show, give us a call or a text on the HRMP listener line, 713-780-3776. You can also hit us up on X. I got it right that time. I'm at Sack by BMAC. We also have Clutch City Cam to my right and third coach Johnny behind the glass. So digging back into the Astros extra innings win, 10th inning win for 3-2 in LA last night. I want to dig into a couple of the pitching decisions from Joe Espada because I don't know. I thought it was obviously it didn't end up costing him. I think we naturally tend to ignore when the team wins, like kind of the head scratching moments that happen. I mean, whether it be football, basketball, whatever.
Yeah.
But a couple of moments I thought were kind of interesting. I wanted to see what you guys think. So first one, let's go with Hunter Brown. Now, I think of the two, this one's more defensible because, well, bases were loaded, and he was, I want to say deep into the game, but it was also, last night was the fewest amount of pitches he's ever thrown or not ever thrown, sorry. Fewest amount of pitches he's thrown in a game this season.
Yeah.
87 pitches. So he was, quote unquote, deep into the game. 87 pitches is not nothing, but at the same time, when you throw in the context of fewest amount of pitches he's thrown this season, it's really not that deep of water for Hunter Brown. So I want to see if you guys agree with the decision by Joe Espada. So Hunter Brown started off the sixth inning and gave up he hit Mike Trout, gave up a single, and then walked a guy to load the bases with one out. There was like a ground or strikeout in between two of those. Do you think it was too soon to pull? Like, because I get the mindset of a manager of like, oh, he hit a guy, he gave up a hit, he walked a guy, he's losing control. He's 80-something pitches in. Maybe he's a little tired. Maybe the excitement from the situation with Zach Neto kind of drained him a little bit. Maybe he's starting to lose it. But at the same time, if I'm putting myself in the mindset of who gives me the best chance to get out of a bases loaded jam. Now, I know he went to a guy who got out of a bases loaded jam, so my argument loses a little bit of steam there. But if I'm living in the moment before I know what happens after that, like there's no one on the team that I'd rather have trying to get out of a jam than Hunter Brown, who's striking out like 12 guys per 9.
Yeah. And honestly, I would have liked to see what he could have done with the bases loaded, see like how he could have gotten himself out of that. But I think to your point too, is I think between the little scuffle earlier in the game, obviously his adrenaline is bumping, but then he walks two guys in the same inning. So for me, if I'm a spotter, I'm like, okay, energy's high, but like, is it going in the direction we need?
Is it getting wild?
And now he's losing a little bit of control, and we don't want to see him hit another person because he's already hit two people in the game. So at that point, I was okay with it. Obviously, I was okay with it because
hindsight,
they got out of the bases loaded. But I would have been okay if they had kept him in because I would have just wanted to see what he would have done in that situation.
This might be a situation where we fully grade Joe Espada's decision based upon what happened, right? Like if he leaves in Hunter Brown and Hunter Brown gives up a bases clearing double, we're all killing him. Like, well, dude, he hit a guy to start off the inning. He'd walked a guy. He's loaded the bases. He's he's approaching 90 pitches. He's losing. Like he got his energy up for that scuffle. Maybe he's a little bit drained. Like we'd be killing Joe Espada to agree to that. Where on the other side of that, if Brian King comes in and again bases clearing double, like, oh, why did you leave Hunter Brown in? I think that's kind of the situation where in that moment Joe Espada like could only be right by the ending inning without runs.
To be a manager.
Yeah, that's kind of the plight of a manager. But what Johnny as I described the situation there, he's 87 pitches, but lowest amount of pitches of the season, bases loaded. Would you have left Hunter Brown in there?
I mean, it depends on, how he's, each pitcher goes out there and feels different sometimes, like sometimes you just don't have the control Like you said, he hit 2 people. I mean, that's probably based on the conversation that he's having in between innings with Espada. If he's saying, "Hey, maybe I'm not going to make it as far as I thought I would tonight. I'm feeling kind of whatever." Espada, they have those conversations, and so it's kind of tough to point the finger at Espada, even if King would have came in and allowed a couple runs. It's hard to point the finger at Espada and say you should have left Hunter Brown in the game longer. It's more about, well, you should have maybe brought somebody else in besides King.
I mean, Brian King's been pretty good.
Yes, but I mean, in that scenario, like, is he gonna, if he gives up 2 runs, can you look back and say, is he really the best guy to go to in that situation?
Yeah, and you bring up an interesting point. Like, well, 2 points I'd like to discuss there. Like, one, you're right. We don't know the conversations that Hunter Brown and Joe Spot are having in the dugout. Like, you're right. There, hypothetically, it could be a situation where Hunter, before that inning started, said, like, "Look, man, I know I'm only at whatever amount of pitches. I should still be, by the pitch count, good to go for a while. But like, I think I'm nearing the end." So Joe might have known that, which might have informed his decision.
Yeah,
but there's no way for us to know that.
And with this season going with the way we've lost pitchers, there's no reason to
that's
try,
a good point.
Yeah,
try and push him, especially when it's your undeniable ace.
Yeah, it's your ace.
Hunter Brown goes down, this season goes down. So
yeah, that's a good question. Like, what player could you least afford to lose?
Down with Brown.
Down with Brown. Or are you doing a aqueduct plumbing spot? I think it's still a line from John and Lance's aqueduct plumbing. He makes the Brown go down, is what I think, as they say on those spots. You were a little bit close there. All right, so I think we can live with the results, and I think the side of Espada to take Hunter Brown is the least defensible. Like, I think I would have left Hunter Brown in, but obviously Espada was right with the result, and I think the reasoning behind it is also highly defensible. The one that I don't think is defensible, and it ended up costing him as far as having to go to extra innings, is then, so Brian King comes in, 1 out, bases loaded, strikes out 2 guys in a row, ends the inning, right? I don't see why he then put Brian King back out on the field. Like, not only is it a up down for a relief pitcher, which, I mean, I know they do sometimes, but that's not highly common, right? Like, to be unless it's one, like, you go in, get one, throw 1 pitch, and then the inning's over, whatever. But you go in to very like high pressure situation. So we talked about being amped up and maybe that draining you, kind of like with Hunter Brown did with the Zach Neto confrontation. Brian King goes in, bases loaded, a 1-run game, and he strikes out 2 to end the inning. Like, he's fully amped up. You're asking him to go sit back in the dugout, cool down, come down from that emotion, and then go back out and ramp it up again. And he promptly gives up a home run to Cameron Moore, his first home run of his career. Like, I thought of the 2 pitching decisions, the Hunter Brown one, I may even side on what Joe Spot did. I think it was at least worth a question, but he probably was right in that moment to go ahead and pull Hunter Brown. I don't know if there's any look. It did cost him the game. It did cost him going to extra innings, but I don't think there's any defense of putting Brian King back in the game.
No, and I'm with you on that one. That was probably the only one where I questioned, because to your point, it's like, yeah, you're coming off high, you just got out of the inning, and then you're gonna have to go sit down for 10 to 15 minutes, and obviously gave up a home run.
I mean, you go in bases loaded, strike out 2, you end that threat in the most dramatic way you can. I mean, you're jacked, and now everything's coming down, and now you got to go ramp back up again. I just
Not to mention, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You mentioned that it's not typical for relief pitchers to do that. There's a good chance when he was walking off the field, he was already thinking, "I did my job. Yeah. I have accomplished." And then to go back out there and try to keep it up, you're right. You come down to a different level.
Yeah, I don't know. Of the 2 decisions, I thought that one was easily the worst of the 2. And if you want to weigh on that, let us know. And hit us up on the HRMP listener line, 713-780-3776. Call or text. Let's go into some positive, though, before we wrap up the Astros segment. Brief mention. I mean, rough night for Jose Altuve. I mean, worth a brief mention. 0 for 4, 4 strikeouts, and Kikuchi got him swinging 3 times. I mean, it felt like Kikuchi, those back-to-back home runs to Pena and to Paredes, both on fastballs. And I guess in the moment, he forgot who he was. Like when he came to Houston, part of what they like coached out of was like, throw your fastball less, throw your breaking balls more because your fastball is highly hittable. Pena and Paredes take his fastballs out of the park, and suddenly, I mean, he's just throwing slider, curveball, slider, curveball, slider, curveball. And he got Altuve swinging strikeout 3 times. Rough night for Jose Altuve. But a quick mention of the positive. Let's end here, and then we'll go into Kevin Durant and the Rockets in the next segment. But Jeremy Pena, 3 for 4, including a home run, which we mentioned we heard coming in. Also had a walk. His stats now as a leadoff hitter, which is 49 games, up to a 366 average, 953 OPS, and he's on about a 21 homer, 90 RBI pace over that time. I mean, we talked last week, like, is he going to be top 3, top 5 MVP? Like he's not going to win it. It's going to be Judge. I feel pretty confident in that, unless Judge gets hurt, right? But again, I think what we started off in the first segment with, we can't forget to acknowledge the great stuff when we're seeing it, because sometimes it just becomes so normal that we forget to talk about it. What Jeremy Pena is doing right now is unbelievable.
He's turning into what everybody dreamed he would turn into years
he's
ago.
surpassed it.
Like
no one, I mean, even I like when he was the Carlos Correa replacement, and if I come to you like, Cam, what do you hope Jeremy Pena can do? There's no way you're telling me 366 average.
No,
right? I mean,
that's why I think I said like last week. I was like, if Pena can just stay at like the 280 average and give you 25 home runs, 25 doubles, and keep it around like 80 RBIs and stuff like that, that'd be an exceptional offensive season for Jeremy Pena.
Yeah, well, especially in the home run total.
Yeah.
I mean, his high, I believe, is 21, which was his rookie year in 2022. So 20, I don't know if he'll get to 25 homers, but I mean that would certainly be a nice surprise. But I don't know when we get past the point of expecting the other shoe to drop with Pena, but I think I'm past that point. I can't say with 100%. Are you there yet, Johnny? It sounded like you were like a little on the fence there.
I think you were going to go down the route that I was thinking.
Okay.
Like not 100%, but getting close.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm 85, 90% there. Like 49 games is a third of the season. Like I still try to remind myself this is, relatively speaking, to the rest of his career, a small sample size.
Yes.
It's not a small sample size for a season, but for the entirety of his career, 49 games is a blip. So like I still have to keep that in my mind. Like there's going to be, he's not going to hit 366 forever, right?
No.
Like eventually this is going to come down to, like you said, 280. Like if he hits 280 with a 800 plus OPS and decent power and RBI numbers, I'll take it.
Especially with the walks being higher and the strikeouts being lower in years past with him.
For sure. All right, let's go ahead and get out here. On the other side of the break, we got to talk about all the latest with Kevin Durant and the Rockets, and NBA Finals Game 7 tomorrow. Our picks. That and more when the Bullpen returns. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Welcome back in ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. If you want to join in the conversation with myself, Brian McDonald, Cam Smith, John Bilmer, give us a call or a text on the HRP listener line 713-780-3776. Certainly, if you have any thoughts on Kevin Durant and the drama that keeps going on with him and the rest of the NBA, make sure to let us know. We got looks like we got a couple of texts in here. This would also be a little obviously on the Astros, but one texter pointed in. Let's see what his. I'm not going to give out the full number, obviously, but just give him credit. 8446 mentions Sean Dubin with the bases or loaded the bases. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer there was with the Spada. Sean Dubin's we didn't get the chance to get to this question, but I had a question if we had time of like who's been most surprising, who's been most disappointing for the Astros in this season. Certainly Sean Dubin would find himself in the surprising category. I didn't expect him to have as good a season as he's having. But let's go ahead and get over into the Kevin Durant situation. One of the things I think that's been missing from this conversation that people seem to be losing when they're having the thought process of taking on Kevin Durant and what you're willing to give up is they keep talking about the risk of we can't make the move for Kevin Durant. He's 36, going to be 37 when the season starts. He's had injuries. That's too much risk. And I keep hearing that line over and over again. Risk, risk, risk. Certainly Kevin Durant comes with risk. No argument there. I mean, obviously, by the time most basketball players get to his age, they're already slowing down. So Durant's already kind of surpassed the norms, and he does come with injury risk. He's obviously had several leg injuries, torn ACL, and I believe an Achilles injury. He's had several, regardless. But I think what people are overlooking in this conversation is the idea that there's no risk in not making the move. Like they keep talking about the risk on the side of trading for Durant, his age, his injury concern. But there's risk in standing pat that Jalen Green's never going to evolve into the type of player you're hoping. That Amin Thompson, while we love him and he's great, is not going to develop the shot that you would hope that would take him to another level. That Alperen Şengün never figures out how to make a basket inside 2 feet and he keeps blowing layups in the playoffs. Like there is a certain amount of risk to not making the move, like that you don't find, like Reed Shepherd doesn't develop, that Cam Whitmore never gets it, like that Tari Eason never becomes a consistent 3-point shooter. Like there's risk on standing pat with the guys you have. Like we just saw Jalen Green in a 7-game series be usable once.
Yeah.
In game 2, he scored like 38. The rest of the series, straight garbage. Like to pretend that there's not risk in keeping him instead of Durant, because his name is most often is the one that comes up in these trade talks, I think is silly. Like there's risk that Jalen Green never. I mean, look, he's a 20-point scorer. He's improved defensively and he's gotten better at least a little bit year by year, especially under Ime after Steven Silas. But I don't know. Are you with me, Cam? Like I think there's a lot of risk in just running it back with the guys you have that to some degree outweighs the risk of trading for Kevin Durant.
Yeah. I mean, and look, sometimes we have to risk it for the biscuit.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
I really wish we hadn't. I regret this entire segment now just because you said that.
But no, I agree with everything you're saying. I mean, the Rockets took a massive leap from year 1 of Ime to year 2 of Ime. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, if they could do that in 1 year with this team, give them 1 more year and see what happens. But I feel like we've seen what we're going to get out of Jalen Green. Like he's going to be an exceptional scorer, but that's all he's about to give you. And then a lot of the other names being listed, they're guys that are be coming off the bench. So it's just like Tari Eason, Cam Reed, all these guys are going to be bench and role players for the next hell. I mean, if you keep Jabari, when is Tari actually going to get viable?
Yeah, I didn't even mention Jabari. Like there's risk that we're talking about guys with obviously. A lot of these guys are top 4 picks in the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, Reed Shepherd was 3rd, Amin was 4th, Jabari was 3rd overall, Jalen was 2nd. Like, I like these guys. And to be clear, because it sounds like I was poo-pooing on this roster. That's not really what I meant to do. I think there is a chance to kind of what you said, like there is a chance it could work out if you let these guys develop, because the young core here is for largely 22, 23, maybe
Yeah.
24 years old, right? The teams that win titles aren't often run by guys in their age 23, 24 season. They're more often 26, 27 and beyond,
Yeah.
right? So there is definitely I think a silver lining in staying pat, because you could reach where you want to go without having to give up any of these guys. But I just have found it to be short-sighted to say there's no risk on standing pat. Like if you're like, oh, we can't take on risk. We don't want Durant. It's too much risk. But again, there's risk that Reed doesn't develop. He didn't look good last year outside of a couple isolated games. We clearly know Ime doesn't trust Cam Whitmore. He doesn't want to play him. Ben Thompson, are we sure he's going to develop a shot? And we talked about Jalen Green and his one good performance in a 7-game series. Like there's question marks in those, and it's not a guarantee that all those or even half of those work out in the positive. But let's go ahead and go out to the HRP listener line right now. We have Chris calling in, wants to talk about Kevin Durant. What do you got for us, Chris?
Yeah, I was hearing about the risk factor, everybody's saying, and I just think it's more risky because he's the type of guy that just jump ship. Like, he never just wanted by himself. He had to go follow Curry and whoever else he wanted to follow. So we're taking on a risk on a guy who can just want to follow his next guy.
All right, thank you for calling in, Chris. And if you want to also call in or text us on the HRP listener line, give us a call, 713-780-3776. But Chris, I see you're still with us. I mean, I hear what you're saying. Like he was a guy that was obviously on the Thunder, ran to the Warriors, ran to the Nets, ran to the Suns. Like he's a guy that's been on 4 teams, will be his 5th next year. But I kind of think going into his age 37 season, Chris hung up. All right, I'll pose this question to you, Cam. Like I hear Chris's point. Like Durant has a track record of, oh, you trade for me, but then you might lose me in your 2 years because I'm not going to be happy. I get that would be like if you give up core pieces and then lose a guy in 2 seasons or 1 season. I get why that would be a negative and a point to not doing this type of move. But on the other side of it, like I think this point in his career is probably where you're going to have Durant be the most committed. Like he's at the end, like he's going into his age 37 season. Like I think his days of jumping team to team to team to team are probably over. I don't know. What do you think of Chris's concern?
It's hard to get in the minds of these athletes, but one would assume at 30,
you should be able to share the name with one.
You're right. Well, baseball, yeah. One would assume, especially at 37. I mean, that's the reason why he has Houston at the top of his list. One, he's from Texas, so Houston would be the closest team.
Not to nitpick you. He went to Texas. He's from Maryland.
Virginia or Maryland?
He's from Maryland, yeah.
But Houston's on the top of his list for a reason, and he's already mentioned that he would like to sign like an extension. So based off that, it sounds like where he goes next, this is going to be his final stop. And for him, you obviously know that he wants to kind of change this narrative about him winning championships because he did it in Golden State with a loaded team. So if he goes to a young Houston team where everybody besides Fred VanVleet is basically 22, 23, I think that that'll do a lot for his legacy if they're able to win a championship. And that's why I feel like if he comes to Houston, it's not going to just be for 1 or 2 seasons. They're going to give him a contract where he ends out his career here.
Like he's publicly said, I think, or okay, not publicly said. People have spoken for him. Who how sources leak that he wouldn't like re-sign with Toronto. Like, but he does seem to be willing to re-sign with Miami, with Houston. I think San Antonio possibly. Although San Antonio reportedly seems to be kind of on the outside. And we'll get to Brian Windhorst in a second here, John. But to your point with like motivation, like you're right. Like I think there's 2 parts of this. One, he's 37. Like he can't come here for 2 years and then expect to be able to pull it off again at 39, right? Like I don't think teams close to a title aren't going to be trading for him with the with the urgency that they would now. Like I think he's running out of time to make those types of moves. Like this, I'm not saying it's his last run, but he's going to be 37. It very well could be his last run. So I think he's looking at teams that he can be here for 2-3 years, the last couple years of his prime, if you think he's still in his prime. And I kind of think you do when he's healthy, that he's got to look at teams and go, am I going like this might be my last run? Can I get this team to the title? And I think he's looking at the Rockets. Not only does he think he can get to this title, but to your point, I think it'd be a feather in his cap for his legacy. Like you're right, people are going to go, yeah, but you only won titles when you attach yourself to Curry and to Clay and to
Yeah.
Draymond. But if he can be the guy to get the Rockets, a team who didn't get out of the first round the year before, a team led currently by a bunch of 23-year-olds. If he can be the guy to get that team over the hump and get them from losing in the first round to a championship, he would. I think he would get not 100% the credit because Ime Udoka would get a lot of the credit as well, but he would get a large portion of the credit, and that would be a feather in the cap of his legacy. But let's hear from Brian Windhorst right now, ESPN NBA insider, on the situation of Durant and where he might end up.
Houston is the team that can make the best trade and also is the best spot for Durant. And there's a connection there with Ime Udoka. Ime Udoka was an assistant coach for Brooklyn when KD was there. If Durant ends up in Houston, I think you've got a serious contender in the Western Conference there. However, Houston is really not motivated to dip into the stash of picks that they have. Specifically, guys, they have 2 future Phoenix Suns draft picks. That's what the Suns want back. They literally want some of the stuff back that they traded for Durant. The Rockets went out and acquired that stuff from Brooklyn with the possibility of making a Durant trade, but they don't want to pay that price right now. And they're basically wagering that the Suns' price will come down and they will make the deal.
All right, let's carry part of this conversation over because Windhorst kind of hits on like the Rockets, at least reportedly, aren't willing to pay the price that Phoenix is currently asking on. How much would you give up? And should the Rockets up their bid? Because I really think they should kind of stand where they're at now. We'll get into that on the other side of the break. ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5. Welcome back into the Bullpen, continuing over the Kevin Durant conversation. And if you want to weigh in with that, give us a call or a text on the HRP listener line, 713-780-3776. Right now, we have Fred on the HRP listener line, wants to talk about Kevin Durant. Fred, what do you got for us?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
You know, I saw Houston this year. I thought they had a really, really good young team that might be, I don't know how many years away from competing for a championship. To me, it's getting off track to go get Kevin Durant. First of all, I'm not sure about the likelihood of him helping them win a championship because I don't know what they're going to have to give up. Maybe you guys know, you can educate me. But I wouldn't be going after this move at all. And, you know, to say, well, someone was saying, well, you know, he's 37 now. He's not going to be moving around like he used to. What's he doing now? He's leaving Phoenix. He's trying to go somewhere else. I wouldn't do it, and I think it's a bad idea. And I'm enjoying the conversation.
All right. Well, thank you for calling in, Fred. Yeah. Thank you. I get Fred's point there where, like, is getting Kevin Durant a guarantee that you elevate from first round to making the NBA Finals, winning the championship? Of course not. Like, you could still argue they're obviously behind the OKC. You could probably argue they're behind Denver and Minnesota as well. Like, you could definitely argue, even with Kevin Durant, they're maybe the fourth most talented team. I know they had the 2 seed last year, but just looking at, like, who you think is the best team in the roster, regardless of where they actually finished with seed last year, you can make the argument that maybe they're the fourth. Like, if you're painting the negative side of this, right? I think you could sell that maybe the Rockets are the fourth most talented team. Maybe you could even go further than that. But to Fred's point, but I think what Fred is missing in this, and what I would say to people who have that argument is, like, you've got right now a collection of young players that don't really have a place in this team, right? Your Cam Whitmores, your Reed Shepherds, whatever happens with the number 10 pick this year. Like, I mean, if the Rockets kept the 10th pick and actually drafted it and put that guy on the roster, that guy's not playing for them in a meaningful way this year. Their team is too deep as it currently stands for that guy to make an impact on this team. So at some point, I think it's not so much that Kevin Durant is going to be this magic piece, this missing puzzle piece that gets them to a title this year, although I think it's possible, more so maybe the year after than this next year. But it's more about, you've got this collection of players basically gathering dust. Why not take those if a team like the Suns are motivated to do so because Durant's aging and they want their own first-round picks back, which Windhorst, in that clip we played last time, we talked about the Rockets' strategic move to take the Brooklyn draft assets they had and then trade them for Phoenix draft assets in anticipation of this conversation. Like, if you have Reed Shepard, Cam Whitmore, the 10th pick this year, these Phoenix Suns draft picks, which, again, probably aren't helping this year's team, maybe not even helping next year's team. I don't see a problem in taking the swing to basically group those things together and trade them for Kevin Durant and take your swing. Because, like, okay, maybe Kevin Durant at 37 isn't the guy to get you a title. I think he makes you better. He's something you didn't have. He's a three-point shooter. They didn't really have a lot of that. He's a go-to scorer in the clutch. You didn't really have any of that. And if the cost of doing business to get Kevin Durant is a bunch of things, for the most part, that weren't going to help you this season anyway, then why not?
Exactly. And, like, I don't think any of us is saying that you put Kevin Durant on this team right now, this very next season, they're going to the championship. I mean, it could take a year, but you still have all that young talent still developing.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's just like, I'd rather swing on Kevin Durant at 37 than hope that Jalen Green all of a sudden turns into this monster that we've seen 4 years of him. Like, I feel like we kind of know what Jalen is going to be. And I know a lot of people are high on Jabari, but, like, for me, I feel like Jabari from 2 years ago to this season almost took a little bit of a step back. And
I thought he was good in the playoffs.
he was good in the playoffs, but overall, like
to your point, he lost the starting job to Amin Thompson.
yeah, I expected to see more out of like Jabari. And so, and the other thing too is like, yeah, you can come at me with like the injury history with Durant, because I know those last like 2 years in Boston and then his first year in Phoenix, he was hurt. But the last 2 seasons, he's averaged like 70 games a season and giving Phoenix 27 points a game. Like Jalen Green is never going to consistently average 27 points, I feel like, in the season. And on top of that, Durant can also get you assists and rebounds that Jalen Green, I know Jalen Green has had some games where he's had high amounts of rebounds and assists, but his averages are still like 3 rebounds, 3 assists a season.
Yeah, he's not a guy that stuffs the box score for sure. I mean, I would say if you're painting the pro Jalen side, like he's a better defender and a more willing defender than Kevin Durant, especially at Kevin Durant's age. So if you want to check something on the side of Jalen Green and the comparison between the two, I mean, but you're
But
right.
see, but even to that point, like even if Durant's defense is worse off than Jalen Green, if he's still in a lineup with Fred VanVleet, who's a good defender, Amin Thompson, who's obviously a great
an elite defender,
defender, and then I mean Jabbar. I mean, it also depends on who you have to give up, but then you still have
either
Tari.
Fred or Dylan would have to go for contracts.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have, you would, one of those guys would certainly be out.
You're still going to have 2 guys in that starting 5 that play great defense.
Plus defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then plus they paid to bring Steven Adams, who'd be giving you 20 minutes of solid or great defense also as well. Yeah. Like I think to your point though, with like knowing who Jalen is, I guess my other point to Fred and some of the other people who are talking about, like I guess being on the not take Kevin Durant side of this, is that like, what is your, or my question to them, I guess, would be, what is your hope for what Jalen could be? Like, because I think your best possible scenario for what Jalen could be would be what Kevin Durant, is already going to give you, right? Like,
yeah,
Kevin Durant, when he's healthy, is going to give you, 26, 27 points per game, good shooting percentages, a clutch score down the stretch when you need a basket in a tough moment in a close game. Like you're hoping Jalen can get to that, but he hasn't shown you anywhere close to that. We saw what happened against the Warriors in that first round playoff game or first round playoff series. Again, 1 good game out of 7.
Yeah.
Like your best case for Jalen is, he gets to Durant. Well, Durant's already Durant. Like,
yeah,
it's sometimes like I kind of equate it to sometimes when people get hung up on prospects in baseball trade conversations or draft picks and, football conversations. Like, well, he could become, whatever great players. Like, well, you could go ahead and get the guy that already is that great player.
Yeah.
Like, you could trade the uncertainty in the chance for what you already know to be true. So, like, I get the downside with Durant. Again, age, he's moved around, injuries, but there's just as much risk as running it back with Jalen, hoping Reed can get on the court at his tiny frame. Like it seemed like he was a baby on the court when he was running around. Hoping Cam Whitmore could suddenly get along with Udoka. Like hoping Amin Thompson can develop a 3-point shot. Not that anyone's talking about moving him, but there's a lot of unknown on that Rockets side as well.
There's a lot of unknown and like hope. And honestly, the last thing that Rockets fans I think would want is to pass on Kevin Durant and then his ass goes to San Antonio.
Yeah, that would be tough to. That'd be tough to swallow. Although you hate the Spurs? I don't really hate the Spurs. I hate the Mavericks. I don't really hate the Spurs. I don't know. I can't tell you why. Like because I guess maybe because David Robinson always seemed kind of likable and Tim Duncan
I don't hate
had
the
no
Spurs.
personality to ever annoy me.
I mean, I don't really. I mean, I hate Dallas, Dallas teams. I don't really hate the Spurs, but it's just the fact that it's another team that's down the street from Houston and in the same division. And it's just one of those things where it's just like, okay, you could have had this guy and now he's going to, I don't want to say a rival, but if any team is close to being a rival, it's going to be the 2 teams in the same state as you. So if he goes to one of those teams,
it's trending to that, because there was a period of time where we could have said Dallas is trending down, but then they got the ping pong balls and got Cooper Flag. So who knows? That might be a triple threat match for the in the Southwest Division for years to come. Quickly before we go to break, like what would be your breaking point with the Durant trade? Like what is too much for you? I mean, I think what people are most putting out there would be Jalen, contract fillers like either Fred or Dylan or whoever to make the contracts work. Then like the 10th overall pick and the future Phoenix first goes back to them. Would that be a breaking point for you, or would you be fine with that?
I'd probably be fine with that.
Like, what is the breaking? Like, what is the point where Phoenix asks for this and you're walking away from the table, walking away from the conversation?
If they want Jalen and they also want Jabari with that first,
and that apparently they do. That's one of the
That-
things that and that's one of the things Windhorst was talking about Houston's made that offer. Phoenix is wanting more, but the report is they want what I said, like Jalen, the contract fillers, a future first, maybe in 10, but they also want Jabari.
yeah, that's where it's too much for me. If it's going to be just like Jalen, some fillers, and even two first, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Like anything beyond Jalen fillers and picks, I probably walk away from. And I really think the Rockets should call the Suns a bluff. Like the Suns, because you have their first round picks, you're kind of holding them hostage in a way.
Well, and that's what a lot of people
call their bluff. Like, what are they? I mean, I guess they could trade into Miami or San Antonio, but Miami and San Antonio, if you're looking to tank in some degree, like they still have Devin Booker, so maybe they're not tanking fully. But who has your picks? The Rockets do. Like you can only get them from the Rockets. So I'd kind of call their bluff. They got to get something from Durant now. He's about to enter his 37th age 37 season. Like if he hypothetically tore his ACL again, like his trade value is done.
It's shot.
It's a wrap.
Well, and
it's
that's
over.
what
like,
everybody seems to think is like the Rockets are standing firm because they know that Phoenix is the desperate team in this situation. So it's Phoenix.
Know your leverage. Like know in negotiation which side has leverage. I think the Rockets, by having the Phoenix picks, plus because of Durant's age and the Suns' motivation to get beyond a 37-year-old player, I think they have the leverage in the situation. So I hope Rafael Stone and the Rockets hold firm and do not up their offer. But other side of the break, what should we get to? You guys want to talk some NFL, or you want to get into some? You know what? We got to get into the leftovers. We got to. Johnny's heard this because he pulled the audio cam, but we got a rap released by Anthony Richardson. I said Colts quarterback for now because I don't think he's going to have the job.
Everybody's a rapper now.
Everybody's a rapper. Anthony Richardson thinks he's a rapper. We'll hear that on the other side of the break. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Welcome back in. Hour number 2 of the Bullpen, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. I am Brian McDonald, joined by Cam Smith and John Belmer. You can find us on X. I'm at Sack by BMAC. Cam is at Clutch City Cam, and Johnny behind the glasses at Third Coast Johnny. If you want to weigh in on some of the conversations we had, Chris and Fred joined us over the last couple segments. Give us a call or a text on the HRP list line, 713-780-3776. So I think we're going to save the NFL, like the NFL, like actual on the field sort of stuff, for another day, because there's too much fun stuff going around that we need to have a little fun with. Starting with a football player, Cam, Johnny, but he has, I think, designs beyond just, on being on the gridiron between the white lines, so to speak. Although he once did tap his helmet to get off the white lines because he was too tired. Of course, I am talking about Anthony Richardson. Go Colts! Do you have that? Do you have that drop, Johnny? Go to my after you get this audio going, go to my quick start page, and there's a Go Colts drop that we need to play after this because I think it fits. Anyway, Anthony Richardson, Colts quarterback for now, although I think he's losing his job to Daniel Jones, has designs, guys, of being a rapper, and we have some bars out. Let's give it a listen.
Say that's the mission, I'm writing until our plats get bigger.
The gang talking to me, sounding like some activists. Talk to them every day, they tell me that I'm talented. If I cry after I lose, that mean I'm passionate. Shout out to Speed, paved the way for all this rapping. Trying to turn it up, yeah, I'm on go mode. Never turn my back on my brother, yeah, that's the bro code. Cruising in my whip, the like going slow-mo. Got love in my city, when they see me, they want a photo. As a youngin', I ain't never eat no peas. On the field, I'm insane, I be throwing like Drew Brees. Worry about no trouble, I ain't gotta worry about no bleeding. For the gang, I'm 10 toes down, I'm standing on my feet.
Go Colts!
Okay. I don't know. So three lines in particular stood out, and then we could talk. I'll let you weigh in and Johnny weigh in, because you guys like hip hop more than I do. I'll let you guys weigh in on like what the technique of his actual flow and his rhymes and whatnot. But 3 lines stood out. One, he had a line in there about not eating peas for some reason. Like if I'm trying, like in the video, he's presenting himself, kind of hardcore. He's out, he's with his boys, he's in front of this like nice car and whatnot.
He's at a gas station.
Well, okay, that's yes. I was looking beyond that for a moment, just because like he's got the nice car, he's trying to present an image, and then he's rapping about not eating peas like he's a kid. Like it's like, I can't take it seriously.
It's for the rhyme.
I know, but come up with a different rhyme, right? You got time to edit. You got time to delete that part and write something better.
VeggieTales? What do you need peas for?
Okay, so he apparently won't eat peas. The second part that stood out was he says, never, I help me out with the lyric here. I was towards the beginning, but he said something to the effect of never turn my back, that's the bro code. Like never walk away from my boys, that's the bro code. You literally tapped your helmet to ask off the field against the Texans because you were too tired. The dude, the only quarterback I've ever seen tap his helmet to get off the field because he was too tired, walk away from his team, literally walk away from his teammates, is out there rapping about never turn my back, that's the bro code. What are you talking about?
Well, Brian, the Colts are not his bros, and they're not the streets, so
I guess not. That's what we learned. Did he ever turn his back on the Gators? I mean, he only spent 1 year. He only spent 1 year with the Gators. He walked away again. Anthony Richardson, we've learned in this moment, doesn't really believe in the bro code. I don't think he really believes in it. He's all talk, no action, boss.
This is very humorous. I honestly, I have the video, the 30-second video.
Can I tell you the third line?
Please.
And Johnny heard this right away. That's the first thing he mentioned to me before the show. Is like, did he really say he throws it like Drew Brees?
Oh.
Literally the worst part of his game.
Yeah, like if you're describing Anthony Richardson, like, man, he's huge. He's built like a Greek god. He can run. Accuracy not great. What was Drew Brees known for? Like being the most accurate quarterback in the game. Like there is in no way, to Johnny's point earlier, like I think he just threw that in because of the rhyme. But like pick almost any other quarterback to compare yourself other than like Drew Brees, like this 5'10" kind of pudgy guy who was accurate, and you're 6'5", built like a Greek god, and you can't hit the broadside of a barn. Like, there's not two more different quarterbacks who have played than Drew Brees and Anthony Richardson.
Well, maybe when the full music video gets released, there'll be like a scene where he's like in the car playing like Madden, and he's using Drew Brees.
He's slinging around like Drew Brees.
That's what he's referring to.
All right.
You know, and real quick, as far as the rapping goes, he's a better quarterback than he is rapper, and that says a lot.
That doesn't sound like praise coming from you, Johnny.
It's not praise.
It's not praise. Okay, I was detecting that was not praise. Okay, yeah, I didn't think he was horrible there, but like I don't know. Like most of the rap I listened to was from the early '90s, so maybe I'm not with what was popular today. All right, moving on to we just talked about this man, but he has some more news coming out. Kevin Durant. I don't know if you saw this. Apparently, according to Boogie Cousins, DeMarcus Cousins not really post-paying career. He was he fighting somebody in Puerto Rico the other day? Like, he was playing a basketball game in Puerto Rico. I think it was Puerto Rico, and got like in a fight with fans or something like that. So he's still playing, but not in the NBA is the point. Anyway.
He's not playing anymore. They terminated his contract.
Okay. I just meant, like, I was about to say, like, post-playing career. I was like, well, he did just kind of recently play. So I meant to say post-NBA career. Anyway. So Boogie Cousins apparently was putting it out there that the Suns in the locker room had multiple, not just fights, fist fights. Like, to me, there's a difference. There's like the baseball fight. Oh, we shove each other. Nothing's really happening. He's reporting, Boogie Cousins, noted journalist, is reporting that the Suns had multiple fist fights in the locker room. Kevin Durant responded, quote, "I have to contest this 94-footer. This some BS to throw on us. Yeah. We were trash this year, but never got close to this. Never," all caps. Like, I cannot look. I know. Have you guys seen the Shooting Guards documentary on Netflix about DeForest Crittenden and Gilbert Arenas?
Oh yeah.
Like, so having seen that, I can't say this is impossible because dudes were literally pulling guns on each other with the Wizards. But I just have a hard time believing these $60 million, $70 million athletes are having multiple fist fights throughout the season in their locker room.
I mean, with the way media works these days, there's no way we wouldn't.
We would not have heard of that.
We wouldn't have heard about that.
Somebody would have talked, right?
Somebody.
Like the 12th guy on the bench who maybe is thinking about his post-playing career, wants to get in with a newspaper writer or a radio guy thinking about his post-playing careers. Like, maybe like, hey man, I'll be your source. You help me out in my post-playing career. Like, somebody would have leaked this information out. I mean, not only one fight, but multiple fights.
And it might not, it doesn't even have to be a player. I mean, just think about how many like team facility people
there's
walk in and out to get the dirty towels.
A trainer.
Somebody
the guy, the equipment manager, somebody would have leaked this, right? I mean, especially with, again, multiple. It'd be one thing if it was like one isolated situation, happened once, no one was there, never happened again, right? But if this is multiple, the way he applied it seems like 3 or more, like this would have gotten out.
Yeah.
And then you also have to, again, it's noted journalist Boogie Cousins doing the reporting here. I don't know if he how many sources he got this from, but I don't think he necessarily followed Associated Press guidelines here. With
maybe Boogie was just looking for a fight.
Well, he did look for a fight in Puerto Rico.
He found one.
Quickly, a couple more quick things. You guys see what the Drake curse? You see the Drake curse continues?
Who do you mess with this time?
He bet $800,000 on OKC to win Game 6. Did OKC win Game 6?
Not close.
No, not even remotely close.
Well, chump change to him.
I mean, yeah, it is chump change to him, but I mean, here we always talk about the Ted Cruz curse. Like, I mean, that's kind of our ongoing bit with
that's real.
Well, apparently so is the Drake curse. I haven't followed as closely as I have the Ted Cruz curse because Ted Cruz one affects me more. It affects my teams, but apparently Drake's got quite a bit of a run going too. And one last thing, Rafael Devers obviously traded in a very surprise move from the Red Sox to the San Francisco Giants. I think that the thing that I find funniest about it is like I don't know what started before that. Maybe there was already kind of a distrust between him and the front office before the Alex Bregman signing. But like the big thing with him post Alex Bregman signing is like, nah, I'm a third baseman. I'm a third baseman. I won't play first. I'm a third baseman. I'm not DHing. I'm not playing first. and he goes to the Giants, and apparently, like as soon as Matt Chapman's back, he's already agreed to play first.
Yeah,
like already. Like I find it hilarious, but
Boston rubbed him the wrong way. But I mean, I think I also read where like even David Ortiz came out and was like, I tried to like mentor this guy, try to tell him how he like needs to like act to like be embraced by like Boston.
I think he was done,
and he was just like he
done.
wouldn't give me any time. Yeah, it just sounds like Devers was just
I think he was clocked out.
Done with Boston.
He was clocked out for sure. What do you guys think was worse, that trade or the Luka trade?
The Luka trade.
Luka trade.
Not even close.
I mean, what did the Red Sox get back though?
I mean, they got some.
At least the Mavericks got back Anthony Davis.
Yeah, but Luka's a different caliber of player than Rafael Devers.
I don't know, man. Devers is a $300 million hitter.
I mean,
dude's been prolific.
But the thing is I think more for this one, in this situation, Devers was done with Boston. Boston was done with Devers. In Dallas was
That's
not
true. That
done.
was a surprise. Yeah.
Not done with Luka, and Luka was by no means done with.
Oh
Dallas.
no! Like you remember the press conference when he got to LA? Like you could tell, like he was holding back tears. Yeah. That is a good point, Cam. Like even though it wasn't still a surprise, and even though they definitely didn't get anywhere close to full value for Rafael Devers, like at least you could say, well, like the two sides could not come together. Like this was a divorce that had to happen. Like with Luka, like it didn't have to happen.
And this is Boston and San Francisco. They're never going to see each other in the regular season. Dallas and LA, they're going to play each other 3 or 4 times in the regular season.
Now with the new schedule, they'll play 1 3-game series, but whatever.
Well, so,
yeah.
I mean, you can live.
Yeah, because they're about to play. Was it this weekend or next or?
They're
next
right
week?
now.
It is this weekend. Yeah,
I think he went 0 for 5 in his like debut against Boston with San Francisco. So
that's crazy.
I mean, even though like the trade was lopsided, I still think based off everything else, the Luka trade was way worse than this one.
No, that's that. I just thought there was maybe a conversation there, but you're probably right. It's probably still a slam dunk, for the Luka trade. See what we did there? All right. Time for the big question on the other side of the break when we get back on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. First off will be, what is the biggest what if in Houston sports? That when the bullpen returns, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
I was welcome back in ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Johnny taking me back to like junior high. Marilyn Manson. I was not expecting. I'm pretty sure this is Marilyn Manson. Beautiful People, is it not?
Okay, it's called Beautiful People.
That's Marilyn Manson.
But I didn't know who it was.
Look, Johnny, you and I have worked together now for a few years, both in this capacity and like I think I have a decent sense of your musical taste. And like I did not see Marilyn Manson coming back.
Especially with the title of Beautiful People.
The Beautiful People. Wow, Marilyn. I think he was in the Woodlands not too long ago.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. Man. Okay, that took me by surprise.
That was put on here when I used to do the shows with Patrick Creighton.
Oh, see, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah. I mean, I could see PC bumping with some Marilyn Manson. I don't hate it. Like I liked it as a junior high kid. Don't listen to it now, but I was surprised. A couple texts to get through and just have this conversation. Then we'll move over to our big question again. That is, what is the biggest what if in Houston sports? If you want to give us your thoughts on that, give us a call or text on the HRMP listener line, 713-780-3776. That big question in a moment, but a few texts. First from 8664. If the Rockets can get a Coke and a smile for Jalen Green, they should consider themselves lucky. Signed, Ocho.
Well,
I mean,
guess he's not a big fan.
No, well, yes, context clues there, Cam. I would say Ocho's not a big fan of Jalen Green. I know he's obviously exaggerating, but I definitely get the sentiment. Like, I mean, I don't know what percentage of the fan base you would say was absolutely done with Jalen Green. And like, if they already weren't done with Jalen Green, like, because we've gone through the ups and downs of Jalen. Oh, is this a hot streak? As he turned the corner, oh, it was just a hot streak. Like, we've done that. We've done that game a few times with Jalen. So I think a few people in year 4 were already kind of past Jalen, but then that playoff series against Golden State, like if you weren't already done with Jalen before he went one good game out of 7 and then completely disappeared for the other 6, then yeah, like I get the sentiment because I think the entire city of Houston kind of moved on from Jalen once he completely no-showed, other than game 2 against the Warriors. From 1429, this is in regards to what would you give up for Durant. He texted in 10th pick and a player combo, no future picks. So I get that sentiment because that Phoenix pick, especially if they semi-tank, even though they have Booker, that could be a pretty damn good pick depending on how the lottery falls. But like I don't see Phoenix making that move knowing they might want to tank without getting one of their first round picks back. Like I get the sentiment, like that could be a really good pick you're giving up, but think of it from Phoenix's side. Like I don't think they're going to be motivated to make that move if you don't give them one of their first round picks back.
Yeah. But that's my whole thing. It's like over the last years, they did so well with these trades to get all these picks back. It's just like, this is why you get draft pick capital so that you can turn it around and flip it for
and that got
a star
kind of
player.
goes back to what we were talking about in the segment earlier. Like I know we have people sometimes, especially in baseball, they'll prospect horde. They'll look at that Baseball America Top 100. It's like, oh, this guy's in number 42 or whatever. Like he's going to be amazing. He's going to be an all-star. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Like he actually hasn't proven anything to us yet. Like I know people were excited about Reed and Cam. You looked like you got a steal with Cam. You thought, hey, we finally got our 3-point shooter with Reed. You got the 10th pick this year. You got a Phoenix pick in the future. But this team is, while not the best team in the West, close to being a true contender. Like those guys, most likely, I feel very sure it's saying with Cam Whitmore. I feel very sure it was saying the 10th overall pick this year. I feel pretty damn sure about Reed Shepherd, at least in the short term. And then a future Phoenix pick that wouldn't even be made until next year or beyond.
Yeah.
That can't help you this next season. So that's kind of like I get like people kind of glom on to either prospect hoarding or like, oh, that's too much value. But to me, this is about helping this current team get to the next level. And those guys aren't going to help you.
They were this close. They were a Buddy Hield greatest game of his life away from going to the next round.
Another text in from 8664. Do y'all think Altuve has expanded his strike zone even more than usual in pursuit of 3,000 hits? And if smarter opponents will use this to their advantage going forward? I think Altuve's always been a free swinger.
Yeah.
Like I mean, last night doesn't help. Like, if I'm going to take the pro Altuve side in this, which I am, last night doesn't help because Kikuchi got him 3 times swinging. He struck out 4 times, 0 for 4. But I mean, Altuve's been. I mean, there are highlights out there of hitting balls, at his, eye level. I believe he's got at least one base hit where the ball kind of Vlad Guerrero style bounced before he hit it. Like, he's always been a free swinger. I don't think he's expanding the strike zone even more. And actually, I thought recently he's been a little smarter and he accredited this to his, like, he had that May slump, and he's obviously gotten a lot hotter since like May 20-ish. He accredited that in part to being more selective with going up to the bat, with having a plan like, I want to seek this pitch from this guy, and I'm going to try to sit on everything else. And when I get that pitch, I'm going to go for it. And I don't know I'm obviously not a professional baseball hitter, so I don't know how much that would make an improvement for a guy like Altuve, but I don't think he's more of a free swinger now. I think he's always a free swinger.
No, and he's too. I mean, obviously he's somewhat creeping in on 3,000, but he's still what?
He's still like 3.5 years beyond this year, probably.
Yeah. If this was a season where we're talking, he's got 2,940 hits and he's 60 hits away, then I could see him free swinging even more. But he's still years away from being close from 3,000. So I don't think, and we've seen this. We've seen games where he has struck out 2 or 3, 4 times before. So like, this isn't something that's just like, oh my God, Jose Altuve struck out 4 times. He's swinging at everything now. No, like we've seen this from him for years.
And most often, it seems like the next game he'd follow that up with like getting 3 hits and clubbing homers. So I think that's just the, like, I get Ocho's question, but like, to your point, like, if he was at 2950, I could see him pressing.
Yeah.
I could see him pressing in that moment. Like, man, I got 1 year left in my career. I need 50 hits. He's pressing, but he needs like 600 something hits. So I don't think the pressing is necessarily kicked in yet, if that is even a thing. All right, let's get to our big question. And we already have some text in this. If you want to share yours as well, give us a text on the HRP list line, 713-780-3776. But what is your biggest what if in Houston sports history, Cam?
My biggest?
Or name a couple. You don't have to go with like the number one.
So there's 3 that come to mind immediately. It's the one we talked off air with Jamal Shed and U of H a couple years ago.
Yeah. And Houston has a couple of those moments over the years.
Like 3 years in a row. It was somebody was getting hurt. The next one is if they could have brought Carlos Beltran back.
Ooh, okay. I didn't think of that one. That's interesting. I think he was using the Astros to just get a bigger deal out of the Mets. I don't think he was ever coming back. But that is because the Astros not obviously the next year they went to the World Series, but then after that, 2006 till 2015, they didn't make the playoffs a single time. So like, I don't know if Beltran would have prevented that 10-year window with no playoff trips. But it is an interesting question, like how differently would it have been if Beltran was here?
Yeah, because he was amazing for that half season and postseason.
I think it was 8 home runs in that postseason. He only played 2 rounds.
Yeah, it was crazy.
12 games, 8 home runs is unbelievable.
And I think the one that probably stands out the most to me is if they had actually, instead of keeping Matt Schaub, pulled the trigger on Peyton Manning, because then Peyton Manning went off to Denver and did.
He reportedly wanted to come here, and
that's a good one.
Kubiak nixed it. I didn't have that on my list, but that is
and
a
that's
great
the craziest thing to me is the fact that Peyton Manning wanted to go to his division rival. And
I think he liked the Kubiak offense. That's probably part of it.
I think it would have fit him because Denver was similar, and look what he did at Denver. So
yeah, I mean Peyton was a shell of himself by the time this happened, but Kubiak went there in Denver with Peyton and won a Super Bowl, years later. So I mean, obviously Peyton wasn't Peyton at that point. His arm had fallen off, but still, a couple of mine, and we'll get into the Johns and the textures here also. First one is, what if CP3 doesn't pull his hamstring in Game 5 against the Warriors? Like, I think a lot of us, it's probably unfair to do so because they still had to win a game against Golden State to actually get to the finals. Then they had to go in and beat the Cavaliers in the finals. But I think a lot of people, when they talk about that, like, they would have won the NBA title that year. And I don't think they're necessarily wrong. Now, it is a big leap because you still got to beat the Warriors one more time and get 4 against the Cavaliers and LeBron James. But CP3 and his hamstring is one of mine. Two more. What if Hinch either leaves Zach Greinke in, or when he goes to the bullpen, instead of going to, remind me, who was it?
It was either Sip or Will Harris.
It was Will Harris. Instead of going to Will Harris, goes to Garrett Cole, who, I mean, we all remember the footage in our head of Garrett Cole standing out in the bullpen. And look,
ready to go.
And then, I mean, I honestly, on that side of it, what would you have done? I would have just left Greinke in. He gave up one hit. He'd been doing great. Like, I wouldn't have pulled him in that moment. It was one single. So those two as well. And then the last one would be, what if the Texans hadn't surrendered 24-0 against the Chiefs in 2019? You go on the road in Kansas City, you're up 24-0 after the first quarter, and then the Chiefs score like 55 unanswered. Like, it completely snowballed on but the Texans, I mean, because I don't know what the win probability in that moment was. Given the fact that it was the Chiefs and given the fact that it was a Bill O'Brien coach team, it probably should have been closer to the Chiefs side than it actually was. But 99% of the time, you go up 24-0, you win the game.
Yep.
You do that. You host the AFC Championship game against the Titans, who I think they would have beaten. We could be talking about, had they not blown that lead, the Texans having a Super Bowl appearance at least. I don't know if I don't think they would have won it. But, I mean, that probably could have been their Super Bowl trip.
Yeah, that's another one that I would put on my list too.
Johnny, you got any that stand out to you?
Yeah, I had two. You literally read them off.
Okay.
My list almost mimicked yours exactly, actually, because the Chris Paul hamstring sticks out vividly because I was about 5 rows back, right behind it when it happened.
You were? I didn't know you were at that
game. And watched him lay on the ground while the game continued. And I really felt like the Rockets could have won Game 6 and closed that series out without even getting to Game 7. And I do think they probably win the title that year and get over the hump. And then my other one was Hinch going to Harris in the bullpen. He should have brought in Cole. He had Cole in that moment. It's game set. Like,
I think there's two good answers in that moment. Leave Greinke in, go to Cole.
Yeah.
Hinch didn't either.
Yeah.
That was the problem. A couple from the text line from 9501. What if David Carr had an offensive line in Houston? I mean, I think he's still probably he's probably Derek Carr. And that's like like Derek Carr was a better quarterback than David Carr. I don't know if David Carr is like, oh, he's a Pro Bowler now. He's like leading you to playoff wins. He's probably just okay, like Derek Carr.
Yeah,
would be my answer to that. What if this is a good one? What if Deshaun Watson wasn't a weirdo?
That's a good one. Oh yeah,
like he was. I mean, I people had problems with him, like running around the pocket too much, making some bad decisions with the football, but I mean, he did things beyond a level, even what we saw of Stroud in his rookie year. So, like, I mean, and obviously he's completely fallen off the earth now.
I was gonna say, to that point though, he has fallen
off. But I think
completely.
he fell off that earth. Like, in my opinion, part of why he fell off was, and it's both because he made terrible decisions and was a terrible person. But like losing a year and a half of football, I don't think many players can overcome that. You're not going to get that back. You're not going to get your timing,
especially if your next team is
reps.
The Browns,
right? And the other part is that I think athletes at that level need an era or an aura of invincibility to them, right? Like they have to believe that they have to forget the last pass they threw an interception on, move on because they can't be beat. And when Deshaun Watson was taken down like he was publicly with 26 women and missing year and a half of football, the 11-game suspension, I think that aura of invincibility was taken away from him.
Yeah.
And I don't think his confidence ever recovered. No. And beyond that, like you said, he went to the Browns in a terrible franchise.
Yeah, no.
So I don't know. I think he still could have been good had he not been a weirdo. And then also on the Rockets from 9501, what if the Rockets don't miss all those threes against Golden State Warriors? That's the same series as the Chris Paul thing.
I was thinking that 27 missed threes. Like, please just shoot a mid-range. Just get a bucket.
And then let's see, one more from Lamont. He texted in, the biggest what if in Houston, what if the Texans had drafted Vince Young? Like, I don't think it makes a big difference. Now, he would have had Kubiak with him. So I think, like, because reportedly Jeff Fisher didn't want him. That's the reporting we've heard forever since, even going back to when he was drafted. And beyond that, Fisher was a defensive guy. So, like, I think he would have developed better under Kubiak. I think he would have had a better career under Kubiak. But you also heard a lot of people say like he needed to get out of Texas because he had a lot of people like a lot of enablers.
Oh yeah.
You always hear that with sometimes depending on the maturity of the guy or the player involved, they got to get out of a situation where a bunch of yes men and like hangers on are going to lead them into bad decisions. So I don't know, even though he would have had the plus of having Kubiak, I don't know if that would have been enough to elevate him to, I think, the hopes that a lot of us had for him.
Yeah, and that's like a what if, because it's just like, okay,
there's so many layers to it.
He got drafted and he won Rookie of the Year, but he didn't really do anything else in the league. So you're also just saying, okay, what if the Texans drafted him? Okay, what if they did? But
I mean, he was Rookie of the Year and a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, but
like, I mean, one of his Pro Bowls was a sham. He had like 10 touchdowns that year, but
like you don't just because if the Texans drafted him doesn't mean that he was going to be the All-Pro player.
Yeah, I think Lamont's point was more so just the belief in Kubiak being able to develop him in that system, being kind of very quarterback friendly. All right, we got to get out to the break because on the other side we have Mount Rushmore +1. Don't go anywhere. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Welcome in, Houston, to the best part of your weekend. Welcome into Mount Rushmore +1, the award-winning, groundbreaking segment that forever changed the landscape of sports radio in Houston and will land us in the Texas Radio Hall of Fame in far less than 27 years. It took those bums, John and Lance. I'm naming them by name now, not just the morning show. Took them to get into the Hall of Fame. If you do want to weigh in more on the biggest what ifs in Houston sports, we'll try to get to some of those. Well, text. I don't think we could take phone calls in the last segment, but if you send in ththose texts if you want. Again, 713-780-3776, and we'll answer those in the last segment. But right now, it is time for Mount Rushmore +1. And gentlemen, if you haven't already, click on the link that I put in the Google Doc for my story, because this is a little bit of a visual here. You need to see this shirt. I'm seeing that your looks like Johnny is going to it. Cam, you already have this photo pulled up. You You paying attention to me here?
I do not. What photo? Sorry.
Cam was completely spaced
I was
out.
reading the comments.
You're reading the comments. Okay. So go to the Mount Rushmore +1 segment on our Google Doc and click on this link so you can see the picture of this guy. Because my Mount Rushmore +1 is based upon this this outstanding gentleman. So if you haven't seen it, just Google it. There's the stories everywhere. But a man got scolded by a Texas judge because he showed up to court wearing a shirt that said "World's Best Farter."
Kind of looks like Laramie Tunsil.
I mean, he's definitely less financially compensated
Clearly
than Laramie Tunsil. I don't think Laramie Tunsil's showing up to court in a World's Best Farter t-shirt. I think he's got a nice suit on. But yeah, so my Mount Rushmore +1 based off of that outstanding individual wearing a World's Best Farter shirt to court is worst shirts to wear in court.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
This is a good one because
these are all shirts that I've actually seen. Like, these aren't just something I created in my mind. Like, these shirts exist somewhere for you to buy.
I know. I think I know one of them that would be on here.
All right.
Go ahead,
So,
let's see.
number 5, no body, no crime when you're on the hook for murder. Yeah. Yeah. No body, no crime. And that, again, these are all real t-shirts that you can buy. That would be a worse one than World's Worst Farter.
Yeah. IRL trolling the judge.
Yeah. Next one, when you're up for some sort of sexual harassment. You remember this shirt from the 90s? FBI female body inspector.
Sure do. Buy that at like Spencer Gifts.
Yes. Exactly. I believe this shirt was worn in the 90s masterpiece Happy Gilmore. But guns don't kill people. I do.
Yep.
While being up for some sort of assault weapon charge, some sort of gun-related charge. That would be a worse t-shirt to wear. This next one would be more of the or at least less serious charges, maybe a possession, maybe a DUI. But the last 2 shirts in my Mount Rushmore +1 of worse shirts than World's Best Farter to wear in court, legalize it, and hold my beer.
Okay.
I mean, you can imagine the scenario. You're up for possession, you're up for maybe a DUI, and you walk in with either legalize it or hold my beer. That's probably not a good shirt to wear in court.
I don't know if y'all noticed, but on the World's Best Farter shirt, right below it, it's written on his shirt, "I mean father."
Yeah, like he tried to play it off. The judge was having none of it. But please Google the story. It's quite fun.
The one that popped in my head though was
go ahead.
There was a video a while back of the judge says you're being charged with stealing a Miami Dolphins jersey, and then the camera pans up and he's standing there in the Miami Dolphins jersey.
Was it the one that he's being accused of stealing?
Yes.
He wore the evidence so that when the prosecutor looks over, it's like, well, Exhibit A.
Exhibit A. He's probably like, oh, I can just give it back.
Yeah. It's like, here, no take back.
Yeah, I wore it today so I could give it back.
Yeah, that's exactly. All right, Cam, what is your Mount Rushmore +1 this week?
Mine is in honor of last night's scuffle.
Oh, with Hunter Brown and Zach Neto? Okay.
So I did. Obviously, there's probably going to be some scuffles that I didn't witness or didn't know that happened before I was born. So these 5 are ones that
ones involving Ty Cobb back in the day.
Yeah, those
you didn't see those
knives pulled.
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like
well,
that. Cleats being
he wore knives on his cleats. Yeah,
he was psycho.
He was a POS.
So these are 5 that I remember watching, and can vividly remember. So. The first one, Pedro Martinez versus Don Zimmer.
Don Zimmer. I love that one. I'm on Pedro's side on that one.
Me too.
Yeah, Don Zimmer charged him.
Don Zimmer had no business
Why are you charging him?
Hobbling out there.
Look, I know Don Zimmer posed Pedro no threat, but I think Pedro did he poses me no threat move. He didn't punch him.
Yeah.
He didn't forcefully shove him. He just kind of sidestepped and moved him to the side.
But
Don Zimmer's old ass
just fell.
Yeah, just fell. Yeah. I'm on Pedro's side on
that. The next one, Andre Johnson versus Cortland Finnegan.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Although it wasn't much of a scuffle because it was very much one-sided. Punches were thrown in a sport where we don't really see punches.
Yeah, that was a 10-8 round for Andre for sure.
The next one, Nolan Ryan versus Robin Ventura.
Of course.
Back in 93, I think it was.
Yeah,
that was
early 90s.
That was a pretty good one.
Another one where it was pretty one-sided.
Oh, yeah. Nolan was cocked and ready.
Yeah, he was wearing them out.
He was ready for that. Alex Rodriguez versus Jason Veritek back in 2004, the
I don't.
postseason.
I kind of remember that, but I don't remember the detail. The details are a little fuzzy. Like, did they actually throw punches?
Yeah, I think.
Like, I kind of remember them jawing, but I don't really remember this, like, the scuffle.
No, there was a couple hands thrown. I don't know if a lot of them like connected because it's A-Rod and like how
Sure.
big of a tough guy is
He's
A-Rod.
not. Yeah.
And Jason Veritek, I feel like
I think Jason
was the
Veritek
opposite.
would
Like
fight. Yeah.
Veritek would
Yeah.
actually try and throw hands. The most famous and
we all know what this one is, right? 3, 2, 1. Ron
Malice at
Artest.
the
Yeah.
Palace.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
mean, talk about fighting. Like that was.
I think I think obviously what people first go into is like, man, Ron didn't even go after the right guy. Like it wasn't even the person he went after wasn't even the person that threw the beer. But I think one of the things that people sometimes sleep on because it didn't involve Ron Artest was there's a moment on the actual court, not up in the stands, where a fan runs up to Jermaine O'Neal.
Oh, this is the one I remember.
Yeah,
vividly.
Jermaine O'Neal. I mean, landed a pretty good punch. I mean, the fan is frankly lucky because Jermaine O'Neal slips as he throws. Like if he had actually maintained his footing and like planted and put his lower body into that punch like a boxer, he would have killed the dude.
That dude would have been out.
Yeah.
Out
You would have
like
seen
a
him
light.
float to heaven on the court.
My
Like,
thing
you'd
is just
seen
like,
his soul ascend.
what are you thinking as somebody that's like 5'7", 140 pounds,
I don't
going
know.
up to a dude that's 6'11",
Jermaine O'Neal's
like
6'10",
240? Like
yeah.
you gotta be.
Yeah,
I mean,
unbelievable.
obviously, alcohol was a big factor.
Yeah, it started
in that
it.
game. So,
It started
yeah.
with the beer thrown at Ron Artest. Yeah, that was one. I remember that's one of those moments in sports. I mean, kind of sports. It was more what happened outside the game. But I remember like where I was and just like stopping and just keeping the TV on, like watching.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just it was unbelievable watching the coverage all night, just of the mayhem that ensued. Johnny, you have a Mount Rushmore plus one for us, sir?
Yeah, I'll be quick. Yesterday, I got a chance to listen to some of the remote action out at the downtown aquarium. And I thought it was pretty funny. Every time somebody would walk around the corner, they would ask where the restroom was or how to get to. And the guys kept having to say, "We don't work here, sorry. We don't work here, sorry." Or field trips running around in the aquarium. So my Mount Rushmore is my Mount Rushmore plus one of other random entertaining places we should do remotes at that I think would get that same kind of interaction.
Okay.
Number 5 is For You, B-Mac.
Oh, really?
At the movie theater down here, Edwards Plaza movie theater. We could catch it. You know, you live in Kingwood, but if you were down here, we could catch it coming out of a movie.
I mean, only
at 10
if I
a.m.
did. Yeah, I mean, I did see a movie. Oh, you guys were on this text. I saw a movie that started at 9:05 yesterday.
Didn't even know they started that early.
But then also as the people come out of the movies, like the host could get movie reviews as they come out. The same kind of way they were answering
Spoilers.
questions yesterday. Yeah, fine with me. Number 4, I put the Wallbridge Bat Colony. We could do a remote there. See how many of the hosts make it through their show without getting attacked by a bat.
You want one of our hosts to get like rabies?
It'd be, I mean, not rabies. I don't want to get bit, but I mean, it'd be entertaining radio.
I can just imagine, like, welcome back, 97.5. Anyway, go ahead.
You see my vision a little bit
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Number 3 is it doesn't need an explanation. Just do a show on Bissonnette. Be entertaining. Number 2, Splashtown.
Ooh, Splashtown.
Splashtown.
I mean, we did do a show at a water park like 2 months ago. It wasn't Splashtown, but
and then we got to move here. But number 1, I put Renaissance Festival. I think some of the interactions would just be berserk.
They would.
That's a good list there, Johnny. I would do a show at most of those. Not the bat one. I don't want to get rabies.
Yeah, the bat one.
I think rabies is where I draw the line. That's where I don't think that's unfair of me. Like I would do a lot of things for this business. Get rabies, not one of them. All right. One more segment to go in this week's episode of The Bullpen. We will return in a couple minutes with what we love from sports this week and our worst people in sports this week. That when The Bullpen returns. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Did you notice, Cam, that within a couple of segments, Johnny went from Marilyn Manson to Fat Pat?
I did.
The man has musical range.
A buffet of musical range.
He has musical range. So a couple of texts before we get into our worst people in sports this week and what we love from sports this week. Some of them weighing on some notable admissions from your Mount Rushmore +1, Cam. Someone texted in Randy Johnson versus the Bird.
That was murder.
And then multiple people texted this one in, including 3243, Jose Ramirez versus Tim Anderson.
That was a good one.
Yeah. And then someone else mentioned Rougned Odor and Jose Bautista.
See, that one I wanted to put on there, but I didn't want to give validation to Rugged Odor. So
yeah, no, Astros. Yeah,
and that was one-sided. That was one-sided.
That was pretty one-sided as well. Yeah. Then a couple came in from what ifs from 2 segments ago. What if the Red Sox wouldn't have traded us Jeff Bagwell? The Astros sent. I'm forgetting the name of the relief pitcher.
That's a great one.
Tim Reynolds or
no.
Or it was something Reynolds, I believe.
I think you're thinking of Shane Reynolds, but
no, I know who Shane Reynolds was.
But yeah, I know it was Ken Anderson. I think it was
Ken Anderson.
Anyway, it was definitely a serviceable relief pitcher in any regard, regardless of what the name is. To quote The Rock, it doesn't matter what your name is.
Wait, and Bagwell's from? He's from up north, right? So that was even.
I think
that was even more why it was like troubling.
I think he and Biggio both are. Biggio's from New York. Then a few people have texted this in, and then we'll get into our worst people after this. What if the Oilers would have beaten Buffalo after being up 35-3?
I figured somebody was going to bring up the Love You Blue days.
No, that's I mean, I included the Texans Chiefs 24-0, but obviously 35-3.
35-3 might be worse.
Yeah, 35-3.
I mean, that might be worse, to be honest.
Yeah, that might be worse. All right, let's get into our worst people in sports this week and what we love from sports this week to close this out, and we'll be back on next week. My worst person in sports. If you haven't seen this, there's video here. It doesn't really play well for a radio medium. But go out and well, if you want to watch it. But Adrian Peterson.
Watch it.
Yeah. Legendary NFL running back, legendary college running back. I believe was runner-up for a Heisman once. Got in a fist fight with an average Joe at a poker room. It is, I guess, not going well in his post-playing career. Got a little bloody. I will say, though, if you want to see action, more action happened with Adrian Peterson and this rando in a poker room than happened on the baseball field last night. if you're just talking about fights. But yeah, he is my worst person. Well, and a quick mention to Stephen A. playing solitaire during a finals game.
Oh, yeah, that was.
Especially since he tried to push back. It was during a timeout. No, we saw the video. You can clearly see guys bringing up the ball while you're trying to find an ace to move up to the next level.
Hey,
you were clearly playing solitaire during an NBA Finals game. Can't wait for that commentary for that game. But who's your worst person, Cam?
My worst person is, look, I'm all about a little physical play.
You like it physical,
men or women, but my worst person are the people that consistently gripe about NBA or WNBA ratings and about how they're trying to grow the sport, but yet they're constantly going after the
only reason people watch. Yeah,
watching it. It's just like, do y'all?
Especially that I forget the team they were playing, but there was that game that everyone obviously is talking about. Like it was about, I guess, 5-6 days ago. But Caitlin Clark gets poked in the eye. She like jumps up and like says something, but doesn't like push anybody. Yeah. And somewhat a teammate of the person that poked her like ran up and like chest bumped her to the floor. I mean, I saw credit to it was the guy on another station. I'll give him a shout out. I don't care. Credit to Sean Pendergast for this point. Like some of these WNBA players have to be the dumbest people in sports when they're literally like trying to like hurt and maim the only reason why people are watching your product. Or the biggest reason, at least, that people are watching your product.
The only reason why I have hopped on Prize Picks and done stuff with the WNBA
is because of Caitlin.
It's because Caitlin Clark.
And it seems like half the league like tries to knock her out of games.
Yeah,
it's insane. I don't get it. All right, we're done with the Anger Sharks. No more swimming with the Anger Sharks. Time to go ahead and doggy paddle over to the Sea of Tranquility. Talk about what we love from sports this week. Cam, what'd you love from sports this week?
I love Coastal Carolina's run through the College World Series.
Is that mostly because of their logo and their name? Because that, I mean, at least adds to
no,
it.
I mean, they have a pretty fresh like uniform, but no, it's just the fact that
that logo is pretty sick.
It's a relatively unheard team in the world of college baseball and
college sports in general.
They've what I mean, like 27 wins in a row since their last loss, and now they're going up against like LSU. Like I like little underdog stories, and I feel like this is kind of one of them.
Yeah, for sure. So a couple things of what I love. Quickly, I'll mention TJ McConnell's dad. If you didn't catch we don't have time to play the audio, but TJ McConnell after Game 6 was on the post game show, and his dad's nearby. Dad comes up and he's like, "Hey, Dad, TJ's dad, what do you think of his game?" And his dad's like, "Yeah, he played great, but man, I'm still bummed out that he missed those free throws." If you don't remember, there's a part early in the game where TJ missed both free throws on a trip to the line. And I mean, even though TJ McConnell is setting literally NBA Finals history as far as production off the bench, I mean, NBA Finals history, TJ McConnell's dad is like, "Yeah, but you missed 2 free throws, bro. You missed 2 free throws."
He must have had a bet on his son on Prize Picks.
He might have. Yeah, he might have missed out on some money. But we got to go out on this. My final love, thank you, Johnny, of what I love from sports this week is the Florida Panthers once again doing it for America, and knocking out the Edmonton Oilers, making it now, Cam, 32 years since a Canadian team in the NHL has won the Stanley Cup. The last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup was in 1993 with the Montreal Canadiens. That's it. 32 straight years of American dominance.
That's crazy.
Suck it, Canada. That's right. Keep this music going, Johnny.
Which is why we need a hockey team in Houston.
Yeah, exactly. So we can also keep Canada from winning Lord Stanley's Cup. All right. That'll do it for the bullpen. Thank you to Cam, to Johnny, to all the callers and texters. I am Brian McDonald. It's been a pleasure to be with you. We'll be back next week. Until next week, Houston, USA! USA! USA!